Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today. I don't know. I'm trying to make it less awkward intro. Hello everyone. So for today's video, I was actually lying in bed last night and I had an idea for two things that I wanted to put into today's video. And the first one is I wanted to take a seat and actually go through some more of the questions that you guys submitted when I asked for questions a few weeks ago when Dan and I sat down to film our Q&A, which if you haven't seen that, I feel like that Q&A answers a lot of like burning questions that people had, really more for the both of us. So if you haven't checked that one out, I will link that down below. But there were other questions, obviously I couldn't hit all of them, and it's just kind of been nagging at me that like I wanted to answer more of the questions. By the way, you might hear Logan in the background, who's actually in the bedroom with Dan watching a video all about airplanes. Very exciting times. So I wanted to do that. Let me pause. I wanted to do that, but then also we're gonna go and do a little Costco grocery shopping in a little bit. I have a few things I wanna pick up. It's just gonna be a little mini haul, but so many of you guys request to like see when I get stuff at Costco. So we're gonna do those two things today, guys. All right, so this first question says, not really for the video, although you're making it in the video right now, but what was the hot cocoa you talked about in a day in my life video? So what she's referring to, maybe you've seen it, but I've shown myself drinking like yolky hot cocos a few times in day in my life. And basically what that is it's a way for me to get in milk and another yolk and just something yummy and filling and warm and full of like lots of nutrients that I'm trying to get right now. You guys know if you saw my last video, or even if you're over on Patreon, I actually made a video a couple of months ago called How My Relationship with Food Has Changed. And I talked in that Q&A and in that video, and just a few times on my channel in general, how I have gone more and more the direction in the last like 3 years of consuming more like animal-based protein products and dairy and just all of that. I still am in love with plants. You guys know that. I'm counting down the days till my garden can pop off here in the spring. And basically what that drink is, it's an idea that is kind of like floats a lot in the pro-metabolic community, which is a community I've been really into lately, just like a way of eating and living that I've been looking at for the last few months. Anyways, this drink was kind of taken from a woman in the space named Noelle Covry, who I mentioned, if you watched my other video, like how to, where to get started in natural living, I actually mentioned her channel in that video. But basically what it is it's milk that is lightly warmed, and you can go on her Instagram and she'll like show you how to make it, and maybe I'll show you kind of how I make it in an upcoming day of my life. I probably will. Basically, you take an egg yolk, yes, a raw egg yolk, which it's obviously very important to make sure you're consuming high quality eggs when you do this. I saved the egg whites on the side. I actually did like an egg white and honey hair mask the other day, but you whip the egg yolk I whip it with coconut sugar. And then once it's all whipped together, I pour my warmed milk in, and I'll usually add a little vanilla extract, a little splash, powdery scoop of cocoa in as well. I will say I made the drink a lot more when I was living at my parents' house. Sorry, I can't stop messing with my hair. Because my parents have like the most incredible frother ever, and that really like takes it up to the next level. But I still have been making it here a few times since we moved into this house. So that's what the drink is. It's like a yolky beverage. And I guess that egg yolks are very high in like a nutrient called choline. So that's one of the things I'm trying to get from the egg yolks, but yeah, that's the drink. Okay, so these next two questions were actually like side by side, and I find that really interesting. The first question says, what brings you joy? And then the other question next to it says, how do you deal with the scary things of this world? Now, it's interesting because they're related in my mind. First off, what brings me joy is a lot of the stuff that you guys see me do on the internet. I love cooking. I love creating. I mean, I love making videos. I love finishing my projects and then being like, oh, I told a story. Like I love putting stories together and imagery, and I've loved fashion for a long time. I mean, joy, this word's kind of getting more shallow into just like happiness, but I don't know though, cooking does bring me joy. I feel like I have to give like the obvious answers, right? Of like my relationship with Dan and my baby and my family and friends and my relationship with the Lord, and continuing to learn more about him and more about just like life, right? I really like learning. Learning brings me a lot of joy. And then to hop to that other person's question about like, how do you deal with the scary things in the world? A lot of the ways that I deal with it is through the things that I just mentioned. Doing the things that bring me joy, not because, you know, I want to stay in this box, like, la la la, I don't even want to think about it. Although I'm sure there is like an element of that for all of us, right? But really it's because so many things I think in the world, like we're fed the narrative that like we can change the world, we can change everything. And I don't want to completely shoot that down because you can change the world. But I think the thing is, changing the world, in my opinion, comes through like one relationship at a time, one day at a time. Like the world is so vague and generic and big, like you are making a difference in your life one day at a time. And I think a lot of people become paralyzed, not only by the craziness of things that is happening in the world, right? It can be a little bit scary to the point of feeling paralyzed, but also on top of that, there can be this feeling of like, well, what can I do? I can't do anything. And it feels so overwhelming. And then you're frozen. It's like really focusing on things that bring you joy and serving others and your relationships, and backing up again, serving others in those relationships, I think is how you deal with the scary things. I mean, what's that like, I'm stuck in with the man in the mirror, like, right? I feel like that's in everything. Like so many wise people throughout history, religions, just smart people will say like, start with yourself. And so that's part of how I do it. Also, I remind myself that I'm not God and I have no idea how things are going to unfold. So I can speculate and learn all the things and guess and like see what's happening. And really, I have no idea what's going to happen. So I don't need to pretend like I do. Okay, so this next question says, how do you keep a strong relationship when everything around you is going wrong? Now, I don't know. You want to know my honest answer? My honest answer is to accept the fact that there are seasons and that not everything, like, it doesn't remain the same forever. It's not going to just be stagnant forever. I think sometimes it's like, I don't know, how do you keep a strong relationship when everything is going wrong? It's like, is it going to be strong? Maybe it will for some personalities and some people, but I know for Dan and I, like when we've gone through hard things, we mentioned this in the Q&A, that like when everything first went down in our lives in the last 9 months, it was really, really hard for us personally, like individually, but also together. And I wouldn't have described our relationship as feeling strong when we were in the moment, but coming out of it, going through all of that hardship and the disagreements and the stress and the trauma and the pain and all of it together. But like I just said 10 seconds ago, coming out of it, that's the thing, calming down, processing things together, looking at the person that you just went through all of that stuff together it's very bonding. And yeah, so I think that's my answer to the question is I don't really know how to tell you how to keep a strong relationship when things are going wrong. But like I said, my initial response is to just accept that there are seasons and you're not always going to feel madly, passionately in love with someone. Like sometimes people drive you crazy. I remember my mom used to say it to me growing up. She'd be like, maybe this is bad, but I think it's good. I mean, my parents are on like 50 years of being together or something like that. My mom would say, sometimes I look over across the table and I can't believe, like, I'm so lucky that your dad chose me. Like, he's who I'm married to. And then sometimes I look across the table and I can't believe that I'm married to him. Like, who is he? And I felt like that was a really realistic statement just about the seasons of marriage and the ups and the downs, and the importance of just continuing to keep swimming and keep fighting for the relationship. But yeah, sometimes life is hard, and I feel like I didn't really give you an answer, but that's my answer. Someone just said, do you do anything special for your anniversary or for the big ones? I have 10 years coming up. Okay, first off, congratulations. Second off, I feel really lame because Dan and I have not ever really done like big things for our anniversaries, even for the big ones. I know we will one day, we're gonna make it happen, but we haven't. And we're actually coming up on our 13th or 14th wedding anniversary, which I can't even hardly get my head around. And we were actually just talking last week, like my sister is gonna take Logan for a full 24 hours so that we can like go get food, hang out together, have the night alone together at the house, and just like have a full day alone together. You know, we want to start making more time to do like special annual things, whether it's for our anniversary or other types of holidays. I get really split on this. Like, we want to, but then at the same time, I think that, like, you know, I've heard a lot of homestead parents say this, for example, like when some people say you have to have a date night every week. I've heard some homestead parents be like, we don't have a date night every week. Like, that just doesn't make sense for us. Doesn't fit into our life. So I think that sometimes, you know, society can put these like relationship expectations on you, and everybody is different. Everybody prioritizes different things, and you don't need to feel sucked into something just because of obligation, which is probably not what you're saying. You're probably asking for 10-year like anniversary ideas, but I'm just saying, because sometimes these types of conversations or thoughts even come up in regards to like talking about a wedding. You know, there's a lot of pressure that happens in society around weddings, and it's like, it's your wedding. You don't have to feel the pressure. Even though, not that me saying that is going to change anything for you, but you know what I mean. So yeah. Okay. Do you do anything to that was weird, like single finger hair moving. Do you do anything to boost your immune system? I like to think that my whole lifestyle is kind of like shaped in a way to where I'm trying to keep my immune system boosted and my metabolism healthy, and like just my lifestyle. I don't know, that is my goal, is to keep my lifestyle boosting my immune system, hopefully. And you guys already know a lot of those things that I do. I'm consistently trying to move forward in cleaning up my diet, cleaning up the food that I cook, getting good sleep, drinking good water. I already said eating good food, like good fruits and veggies and good quality animal products. All of those things, I think, work together to keep you healthy and thriving. And obviously there's other things we can do, you guys know. And even still though, I can't even believe I'm saying this after a decade. Like, I was about to say, you guys know I'm a big fan of vitamin C, and I still am. And I do think there's a big difference between taking something short term for when you're sick. For example, I always thought that with like oregano oil. When you're sick, it's different, but you don't want to be taking oregano oil all the time. I think that that can apply to a lot of things, but I even feel that way now about vitamin C. And you guys know I used to take vitamin C like every day for years and years. And now my mentality has kind of shifted. I'm not as much of a huge fan of like ascorbic acid. And now I really aim to try to get in my vitamin C through whole food sources. Just a lot of my health views have been like shifting, and I've been trying to process what I really think about all of it. But a lot of it has been influenced, and I've mentioned this before, by like Weston A. Price, kind of GAPS type thinking, and the pro-metabolic community. Okay, so this next question says, have you ever been a liberal Christian? You know, depending on who you're talking to, someone might classify me as a liberal Christian just based on one stance that I have, not even on like what I would consider, because I would consider my overall like worldview to be very conservative. But the one thing that I think some people might be like, that makes you kind of liberal, and I was actually talking to a friend about this yesterday, is that like, I have definitely, and it's totally cultural, I realize that's a large part of it, but I am definitely like a low-key relativist. And I've realized that more and more talking with people. And not really, like, I believe that there is truth. I believe some pretty specific things, although there's a bunch of other things I have question marks over, but I do believe in truth. But the thing is, I also say relativist because I'm someone that kind of wants to like live my life, you know, share my views, hear other people's views. But then at the end of the day, I'm kind of just like, hey, you do you. Like, in my mind, we're all going to be meeting our creator one day. So like, you're going to have to answer to that, or we won't. I think that we will. So there is kind of this element of me that's like, whatever, you do you. And I think that sometimes that can almost kind of seem more liberal minded. And I get that, but I can't help it. That's like, I will eternally have this like libertarian streak in my heart that I don't know, would take a lot of like mental gymnastics for that to go away. Because I just do, I have a very strong like libertarian streak to me that, like I said, I know we're talking about Christianity, but I think you guys kind of get my gist. There just really is this part of me that's like, I'm going to meet my creator one day. That's what I'm concerned about, is pursuing truth and learning how to love better. Okay, this next question says, how has your viewpoint on adoption changed? You guys know Dan and I went through a pretty like decent process of going towards fostering and adoption a few years ago before we ultimately decided to try and have a biological child. And, you know, I've mentioned to you guys that yes, my view on adoption has changed. I think adoption is beautiful. I'm not going to go off into too many details, but I'll give you some general stuff. You guys know when we stepped out of international adoption, we left with a lot of like questions around just how it's run, how adoption is run in different countries. You know, when we came into the foster care system here in the States and we started kind of looking at possibly fostering, you guys know we had some weird experiences with people in the system actually blatantly lying to us. And so, like I said, without going off into too many details, the place that we've landed now as people who are able to biologically have children, because I think that changes it now. Like in retrospect, my perspective would be different if we could not biologically have children, but because we could, we don't plan on entering back into any of those systems, even though, like I've mentioned, Dan and I are still very much open to the idea of adoption. But what I mean by that is we're open in a more like communal sense and really just seeing where God leads us. I mean, I have multiple friends that have adopted babies through the foster care system, and it happened in like this crazy out of nowhere emergency situation where God clearly orchestrated the whole thing. But the foster care system, you know, it's messy. The ultimate goal is reunification for families that can be together. Yeah, we just left with a lot of questions about systems. And yeah, that's basically where we've landed. We're open, but we're more open in a community, local, we'll see where God takes us kind of thing. I feel like that was a really vague answer, but you guys know I could go off on like 8 billion hour long monologues, but it's always like picking and choosing which one, / also not trying to say the wrong thing and convey like a different message than what my heart is trying to convey. So yeah. Okay, someone said, are you enjoying the mountain life and are you planning on taking Logan on some adventures? Yes, we're loving it. It's so beautiful everywhere around here. The whole like climate up here is like nothing we've ever been around. The terrain, it's beautiful. And even with all of the like chaos and trauma that we were dealing with last spring and summer, and we weren't even moved in, we were living out of a suitcase, all of that, we still had a really great time. So our whole family just keeps saying like, man, this next year of like entering into every season for the second time is gonna be like so much better because we're gonna be so much more prepared like when winter comes around, or this summer, it'll be our second summer and we're in the house and we're just so excited for Logan to get to live this kind of life, like out in nature, in the mountains, and just so excited. So I don't know if it's just because I am like super self-focused, which is totally true, or if I'm forgetting things. I don't think we answered this question, but we might have. But I liked it because like I said, I'm very self-focused. Jordan says, how are your hearts? I know moving and change is hard. Even good change is hard, which is like totally true. That reminds me of this saying that my old counselor used to say to me. I've said it to you guys a billion times, emotions come in sets of 3. How like, basically the gist is just like emotions are complicated and you can feel a bunch of different ways about something. And even if something is good, like getting married, like I was so scared on the day of my wedding and I was also so like over the moon, and it was crazy to be living with both of those feelings. So anyways, to answer your question, our hearts are good. You know, it's really amazing. I was saying this at small group last week. I was just saying, it's amazing just that we're still processing everything, right? Like even if everything that went down in the last 8 months hadn't gone down, I think it would still be hard. We'd still be processing because like you said, even good change is hard and moving is hard. But it is really weird. I definitely have days where I can't believe it. Like I'm still in shock. And that's something that I said to the girls of the small group, like so many weeks in a row. And that's basically just like, I still can't believe it. I mean, I still can't believe I live in Idaho, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I still can't believe everything that unfolded and the fact that we're still dealing with the ramifications of how everything unfolded. Like I'm literally still in shock in a lot of ways. I can't believe it. And I'm sure you can imagine that like when I say I can't believe it, I mean that like around like if this is the situation and there's like a billion different things around it, that's what I mean. It's like all the things around it are, I just can't believe it. So, you know, Dan and I keep saying that every week this town and this home feels more and more like home. Like literally, it's like the pressure, the weight, or the stress or whatever gets lighter every week, and like the comfort and the settling gets like deeper every week. Yeah. On that note, I think this is the point where we're gonna segue to Costco. Is that weird? This is a weird video. We're rolling with it. So let's go. So there are some really specific things I like to get at Costco. One of them is their berries. They have great deals on actually a lot of organic produce. I don't get all of my groceries at Costco, but when we can afford to buy things in bulk, or it just makes sense for the food item, I love getting certain things there. By the way, you guys know my obsession with bone broth. I recently tried this Kirkland chicken bone broth. It's okay. What I actually like to do is I mix this with some of my fancier fond bone broth to kind of like thicken it up, because that flavor is amazing. All right, so my hair is crazy because it's raining outside. We just walked through the Costco parking lot in the rain. I almost kind of felt like when I left, I was like, is this even a haul? It's like, I only picked up a few things, but I'm grateful for the few things that we picked up. We love the things that we picked up, and I feel like you guys like it when I share what I got, even when it's not huge. So the first two things we picked up at Costco were some berries. We love berries. We eat through so many of them. At this point in like my life, I'd say I have fruit with every single meal. I just like having a side of fruit. Part of that has to do with, like I mentioned, the whole pro-metabolic community way of eating. They really promote eating fruit with your meals, and I love fruit. Logi's obsessed with fruit. And we both love berries. Now, one of Logi's favorite ways to eat berries, like different kinds of berries. By the way, sorry it's such a mess. We're still, as you guys know, like working in counters and stuff, or not counters, cupboards. So everything is still out of the cupboards and just like strewn across everywhere. We joke every day. We're like, one day our kitchen's gonna look nice and we can finally put the stuff away. Anyways, one of our favorite ways, or one of Logan's favorite ways to eat the berries is with raw yogurt and raw honey. And he will literally say, yogurt and berries and honey. And so, so good. And I actually took half of these, like I had 1/2 of the raspberries left from our last Costco trip the other day. And I actually ended up using them to create gelatin gummies, which is something that, you know, the Weston A. Price side of things and the pro-metabolic world, they're really into these gummies. So I finally made them yesterday. You'll see it in an upcoming day in my life. But yeah, so berries. The next thing we picked up, and I'm excited to share this, but I also have some kind of bad news. Actually, I'd like some information. So I picked up this big thing of eggs from Wilcox Farm, and I was very excited. I mentioned this in a video because it's super affordable. It's like $5 for all these eggs, and until we get our own chickens, we eat a lot of eggs, so we buy a lot of eggs. And I had told you guys that the yolks with this company or this farm were like very dark orange. I had been telling my mom that I was like kind of concerned, similar to like farmed salmon, how it's pink because they put pink in it, like they inject them with pink or they put something in their food. I don't remember. But I said, I feel like it's the same thing with these eggs, but I don't know what that means. And then one of you guys actually commented that they feed their eggs flaxseed. Part of me is like, oh no, see, they're cheating. Like that's how they get the eggs that dark or the yolks that dark. And then part of me is like, well, flaxseed's good. Like it's nutrients, but then I just don't feel like chickens would ever stumble across a bunch of flaxseed. I don't know. So I would love more information from you guys because it was one of you that told me that in the comments. So give me your thoughts. So eggs. The next thing I got was totally an impulse buy for Logie, and that is this That's It fruit bars. So we don't, at least I don't feel, right, like it's all relative, I don't feel like we keep a ton of like snacks for Logan. We do really love from Costco, and I showed you guys in the footage, those, he calls them squeezies. They're like blended fruit pouches. I don't love that I believe there's like ascorbic acid in them, but those are fine from time to time. But in general, when Logan wants a snack, and I feel like he eats all day long, it's usually something like either I have like these seed crackers or slices of cheese or fruit. Fruit is always a go-to. Sometimes he'll do hard-boiled eggs, but he's weird about the texture depending on the day. But yeah, or dates dipped in some peanut butter, or little slices of meat if we have some cooked up. Just like food, not necessarily packaged things. But I saw these and I was like, okay, snacks are really convenient sometimes because he's literally always asking for food. And I like that the ingredients in these were so simple. So, you know, they call it That's It because like in the strawberry bars, it's literally apples and strawberries. So they're not even putting in like ascorbic acid or citric acid or anything like that. And then the other bar is apples and mangoes. And then the last bar is apples and blueberries. So I think he's gonna be really excited when he tries one of these and figures out what it is. He's gonna like it, I think. So the next thing I picked up was this massive bag of carrots. And I'm kind of bummed because Dan accidentally bought me another bag of carrots like a week ago, but he didn't realize I already had a bag. And I totally didn't store it in the right place. I like put it above the fridge and it's like a long story. Our heater is broken in this house. We haven't fixed it yet. And so this room actually gets really hot from our fireplace. And rather than putting the carrots outside in the garage where they could stay cool because we didn't have room in the fridge, they like ended up going bad. You didn't need that whole story. But I love carrots and I like carrots for lots of different things. You guys saw in one of my recent Day in My Lives, I enjoy like chopping up carrots and simmering them in bone broth and having like a really basic soup sometimes. I also like, you know, grating carrots for a salad. That's another big thing in the pro-metabolic community, are raw carrot salads, because apparently carrots help to like bind to toxins and excess estrogen and sweep them out of your body. So that's cool. I like carrots in smoothies sometimes too, like grating them up and throwing them in with like cherries and whatever else. I already mentioned on a salad. I like roasting carrots in like garlic and honey and balsamic vinegar. Carrots are a good one to have. So it's a massive bag, but as long as I store it in the right place this time, it will last for a while. The next thing I got, this is totally a gamble. I have no idea if we're gonna like it, if it's gonna be any good, but this is some bacon they were selling there from a company called Hempler's. And it says it's small batch crafted meat. It's uncured and there's 0 sugar in it. So I don't know how I'm gonna like this. I tend to buy my bacon at a local grocery store called Pilgrim's. I mean, it's so delicious. Like every time we eat it, we're all like, oh, it's so good. And it's really basic, you know, meat, just like everything else. Obviously there's like a spectrum in terms of like quality and health. And so we'll see, but I'm excited to try this out. And the ingredients are pork, water, sea salt, and celery powder. And my favorite way to make bacon now, for those of you that didn't get the memo, is to put it on a baking sheet and bake it till it's crisp, like at 420 for like anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, depending on, you know, I'll like check on the bacon and see how it's going and all of that. So the next thing is actually not something that I picked up. This was Dan. He got this Clam Shack gumbo with uncured sausage, white meat chicken, and shrimp. So he tends to get like fun soups at Costco. In fact, I feel like he does that kind of regularly. We got a really good soup that he picked out last time we went as well. And it's a like white cheddar cauliflower soup. That was super yummy. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. You guys know that I've put out so many videos over the years, and sometimes, you know, I'm like, what do they want to see now? Or like unsure if something's gonna be boring or whatever. So I will, God willing, see you guys back here soon for another new video. And hopefully soon in life, my cabinets will be done and my counters will be cleaned. And it'll look like a Pinterest kitchen. So, all right, guys, bye.